Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another film theory reaction. And, the Minions are not actually dumb. I mean, I guess that's a topic you can go with for, since there's the new Despicable Me movie. I'm just trying to think, because I remember we actually, me and my family, we actually did go out to see the Minions movie when that came out. And I mean, I can see where they could be coming from this. Because, I mean, there was the whole thing where, they went to prison. Then they escaped from prison by making a hot, like a hot air balloon. So I mean, they're not like imbeciles. I mean, the fact that they've, apart from the fact that they're apparently invincible, I mean, they have been around for basically the entire history of the planet. So you think, they might have learned a thing or two in that time. So yeah, I mean, it's at all possible. So yeah, let's see where, Lee has to go with this one then. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my game theory reaction. And yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Aren't dumb. Wait. The Minions aren't dumb. Wait. I know, hear me out here. How could I possibly say that this isn't stupid as heck? Well, underneath these bumbling buffoons are true masterminds, geniuses of science and language and planning that have been guiding world politics since the dawn of time. Yeah, really, and no, I promise I haven't gone insane yet. Hello?
I highly doubt that. I mean, given what I've seen you actually, have to do, yeah, I'd very much, put it on the in creeping closer to that side of the shelf.
Internets, welcome to Film Theory, the show that looks just great in a pair of overalls. Today, my friends, the time has come. I thought,
man, I wish I could have a pair of overalls, just, for, any sort of use. The problem is, I'm tall, so getting any sort of pair that would fit me is very expensive.
I might have just a little bit more, that I might just escape this fate just a little bit longer, but today is the day I do my first Minions theory. If you don't know, the Minions are these adorable little yellow Tic Tacs from the
Adorable? Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Despicable Me franchise. Their whole shtick is that they want to serve the most evil being on the planet, becoming the henchmen for some of the worst villains throughout history,
but they're just
getting
really
up to
incompetent.
some ridiculous shenanigans. So let's address the elephant in the room. I, a 31-year-old man, am not who the Minions movies are made for. In fact, I may be so far away from the target demo for these films that it's borderline comical I'm even bringing them up. Even still, I gave these movies a real try, an honest shake. I really wanted to like them, and they lost me at... Yeah. And yet, I can't help but respect these movies. Like, listen, you don't get to be the 13th highest grossing film franchise without doing something right, and I wanted to understand what that was. I wanted to understand why they're so popular. And you know what? I think I get it. These movies really lean into what they're good at. Like, did you know at the beginning of Despicable Me 4, the Minions dress up in suits? There's no doubt in my mind that this whole sequence was a nod to the Gentle Minions meme, and that's the movie meeting their
I completely
audience
forgot
where
about
they're at.
that.
Also, was me, a grown man, seeing that and furiously taking notes in my theater while watching this movie alone weird? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, you do gotta say, I mean, Illumination, I mean, they do have their finger on the pulse at the very least. I mean, there's that, which I had never heard of. But then there was the whole thing before where, oh god, which movie was it in? But was it either a movie or an ad where they were making fun of AI art with the Minions, and the AI art was actually like being made by the Minions at like in the first place or something? I completely forget, but yeah, you gotta respect him for that.
It was. The long and short of it, these movies themselves are smarter than you think. They've basically been scientifically engineered to be as appealing to children as possible. Like throwing bright colors, flashing lights, memes, and raspberry fart noises into a blender and siphoning off the resulting radioactive slime. But even with all of that, you might not expect the Minions themselves to actually be very smart. See what I mean? thicker than frozen mayonnaise, right? Even Pierre Coffin, the creator of the Minions, seems to think so. In 2015, he said that none of the Minions were girls because he just couldn't imagine women being this dumb. Basically, that's the guy who came up with this entire franchise saying that he thinks that they're stupid. But I'm here to tell you that he's wrong. In my quest to understand the Minions, I sat down and watched all of it, and I mean all of it.
Okay, I think you're going to, be fighting a losing battle here. Because, I mean, no matter what proof you put in front of this, I mean, you're always going to have the equally large and important, proof of their creator said they're stupid. And I know I'm not being serious. I know the video is all for fun and games. But at the end of the day, I can't help but feel that this might be, very stereotypical Matt Pat style theory channel, overthinking and everything.
Movies, yeah, but also the short films and commercials and even the 2024 Olympics opening ceremony where they stole the Mona Lisa. Yeah, I'm choosing to believe that that's canon. But the result of all of that research, I came to the conclusion that we've all been wrong about the Minions. Underneath this surface of silly dum-dums are super geniuses that actually run the world. And the thing that proves it? Well, it's gonna drive you bananas. Suit up, loyal theorists, as we break down this despicable truth. So why don't we start out small here, huh? First things first, in our case for the Minions' genius-level intellect, well, they understand how to use tools and have understood how to use tools since the beginning of time. At the beginning of the Minions movies, the first time we see the Minions on land, they've already figured out how to use seaweed and leaves to make rudimentary string, clothing, and even goggles. Humans didn't learn how to use tools until like 2.6 million years ago, and here are the Minions doing it in literal dinosaur times. On top of that, modern humanity lived for over 90,000 years before they first learned that they should be putting on clothing for warmth, so the Minions knowing that they should be doing that as soon as they left the ocean? That's huge, and evidence that even back then, they were smarter than they appeared.
No, I will completely give you that. But there's also the thing that seems that they kind of just plateaued after that, which, I mean, it seems that they're, fully capable of learning how to do new things, but apart from just, their outfits upgrading to, overalls and actual goggles that are not seaweed based. Yeah.
What's more, the Minions have had the knowledge and understanding of how to use blueprints and build advanced structures like the pyramids of Giza for at least as long as human civilization, let alone any of the crazy inventions we see characters like Gru coming up with closer to the modern day. Additionally, this innate understanding of how to use rudimentary tools and build large structures also transfers onto modern electronics. Again, in the first Minions movie, following the fall of Napoleon Bonaparte, the Minions retreat into an ice cave. It's likely that the battle shown here in the movie is the Battle of Borodino in 1812, and the Minions don't leave the cave until 1968, meaning that they spent over 150 years isolated in this cave away from any technological development. And yet, in the 60s, the Minions not only immediately understand what a television is, but also how it works, and even how to use a TV guide to find something to watch. Keep in mind, the television wasn't invented until 1927, long after they went into that cave, so this shows us that the Minions have an innate understanding of technology, its purpose, and how it works. Another thing the Minions do that's a pretty good indicator of their intelligence: singing and dancing. Yeah, really. We often see the Minions singing throughout the series, with the best example being again in that first Minions movie when they're stuck in the ice cave. Plus, when the Minions are sent to prison in Despicable Me 3, they intimidate many of the other inmates by doing some menacing dance choreography. Now, being able to sing
menacing, right, okay.
and dance does not necessarily have a direct connection to intelligence levels, even if remembering song lyrics, memorizing dance choreography, and the ability to read music does require you to use your brain. However, singing can increase the executive function in your brain, meaning that it can help you keep your attention span in check, control your inhibitions, increase your memory, and become a better problem solver. And as for dancing, well, dancing stimulates your brain and helps create or reinforce neural pathways. This means that it can literally help us think better and faster, analyzing complex situations and making quicker decisions. And just to put the cherry on top here, both singing in a choir and memorizing choreography like this are abilities not typically seen in humans until at least between the ages of 7 and 10. That means that just right off the bat here, the Minions are as smart or smarter than elementary schoolers. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but believe me, things only go up from here.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. You say that, but at the same time, like, the original Minions, because I think there was a whole theory going around that the vast majority of the Minions that Gru had were actually clones, since there's more than, like, what was it, 152 or something in the original movie? I forget. Not in the original movie, in, like, the Minions movie. But, I mean, they've been around for literally millions of years. So you think they would have worked something out like that in that time?
For instance, the Minions are surprisingly talented at athletics. In the past, they've trained to play basketball with pros like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and remember how I said the Minions appeared during the opening ceremony of the 2024 Olympics? Well, they weren't just stealing priceless artifacts, they were also trained to actually compete too. Leading up to the Olympics this year, several ads saw the Minions training with Olympians like Simone Biles, Caleb Dressel, Noah Lyles, Ryan Krauser, and Anna Hall. Now, you might look at these and think, man, they're not very good, and
no,
that's
they're
fair,
not.
but this was just them training. By the time of the actual Olympics opening ceremony, we see multiple Minions absolutely rocking at sports like gymnastics, weightlifting, archery, javelin, pole vaulting, boxing, all sorts of these sports. That means that they were intelligent enough not only to know how to learn these sports, but how to train effectively for them. And that means a lot, though you may not realize it. Olympians are often considered more intelligent than they're given credit for, mostly because they have to set goals and make plans to achieve them. Exactly like we see here with the Minions. Oh, and speaking of plans, boy, do the Minions have the ability to plan effectively. As I mentioned earlier, in Despicable Me 3, the Minions are sent to a state prison. However, when they decide to break out, the group comes up with a complicated plan that involves stealing a bunch of fans, toilets, bathtubs, and other hardware from around the prison, fashioning a makeshift helicopter and blimp out of washing machines, car batteries, and a sail made from prison uniforms, and then literally flying out of the prison. First of all, this means that the Minions had the ability to come up with and execute an insane plan for this prison break. Most prison escapes are actually crimes of opportunity where inmates literally just walk away from minimum security facilities. To pull off something like we see here with the Minions at a more highly secured state prison is very difficult. And on top of all of that, this plan shows that the Minions have a deep understanding of not only mechanical engineering, but also aerodynamics and physics, all of which they'd need to build this vehicle for their escape. But even still, maybe you're gonna say that that was just a state prison. For as secure as it might be, it's not like the Minions broke into one of the most protected art galleries on Earth and stole one of the greatest works of art of all time, right? Well, remember earlier when I talked about the Minions at the Olympics? In the Olympics opening ceremony, we see the torchbearer, who is totally not an assassin from Assassin's Creed, by the way, break into the Louvre Museum of Art in Paris. Here, he finds that the Mona Lisa has been stolen with a hole broken through the floor, leading to an underground pipe. Of course, it turns out that the Minions are behind the theft, taking the painting into a submarine in the Seine River. Shenanigans ensue, and the submarine is destroyed, leaving the Mona Lisa to be drowned in the river, destroying this piece of priceless art. First,
Jeez, what is it with in the last couple of years with, like, movies involving the Mona Lisa being destroyed? Because, like, at least the first one I remember was, there was on Glass Onion, that Knives Out movie, where it was destroyed in that, like, knockoff Elon Musk's island house after the hydrogen leak. And now this, I mean, why does, and then you have all like the protesters that throw paint and stuff. I mean, why do people hate the Mona Lisa so much?
And most importantly, this proves that the Minions and Glass Onion do not share a cinematic universe. I'm sure Rian Johnson is just completely heartbroken at that prospect.
Lee, was that something you were hoping for? I'm going to say this now. Can somebody go check on Lee? I think film theory's starting to get to him.
But only slightly less importantly, this shows just how insanely coordinated and well-researched the Minions can be when they put their minds to it. Obviously, we don't have the exact details on every piece of security protecting the Mona Lisa to prevent it from being stolen and damaged, but what we do know is that the Louvre is considered one of the most secure buildings on the planet, with round-the-clock surveillance, rigorous access control at its entrances and exits, and emergency protocols in place, all of which the Minions were able to bypass without setting off any alarms or alerting the the authorities. Additionally, the Mona Lisa has bulletproof glass protecting it, which the Minions were able to shatter without any problem. All of this while the Olympics are being held, and there's an additional 55,000 soldiers and police officers in Paris for security. The amount of work, coordination, and intelligence from the Minions it took to pull this off cannot be understated. So that's everything that I could find that the Minions do that is comparable to humans, things that we would consider intelligent or that would contribute to intelligence. But the proof of the Minions' genius doesn't just stop there with what's comparable to humans. No, they also completely beat us in so many other regards too, far outpacing humans with their ability to invent. Now, we have to be careful not to attribute a lot of what the Minions' masters create to the Minions themselves. So a lot of the wild stuff that the Minions made while serving Gru, for instance, we can't say that this was 100% them, but that doesn't mean that they don't create some wild technology all on their own elsewhere.
Like
for
what?
example, we can just take another look at that first Minions movie for a huge example. While entertaining some Yetis in that ice cave by putting on another choreographed song and dance, I am just now realizing how insane that line is.
You're only just realizing that?
We see that the Minions have put up multiple fairy and Christmas lights throughout the cave, as well as using a spotlight to highlight parts of the performance. There even seem to be like little power lines connecting to all the lights, but those might just be strings holding them up. Regardless, your initial thought might be that these are just candles or something similar. After all, we see the Minions with torches elsewhere in the cave. But they're not. Candles and torches always give off a distinctive flicker because of air currents, imperfections in their wicks, and impurities in their wax. However, the lights here are steady and powerful, something you just wouldn't see with candles made of animal fat or wax. That means that they were able to create some form of reliable electricity to power the lights in these caves, something that modern cities weren't able to figure out until the late 1800s. Remember, these Minions have been isolated since 1812. And what's more, lights and electricity aren't the only inventions that they were able to independently develop here. They also have a working telephone built out of ice, metal, and wood scraps. The telephone wasn't even invented until 1877, again decades after the Minions were isolated in this cave. The biggest example of the crazy tech they had.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop you there, because all of this is under the assumption that the Minions instantly went from Paris, or France I should say, to the South Pole. Now, I don't think it took, decades for them to go from, Napoleonic France to the South Pole. But I very much have to believe that, some of these things, it might have taken them at least some time to get there, because the whole thing, obviously in that time, they might have not found another suitable master. But I hesitate to say that when they first got to, Antarctica and started serving the Yetis, that it was still 1812. I'm going to say that it was at least a couple of years.
Well, after leaving the cave for the first time in over 150 years, one of the Minions pulls out and eats a banana. Yeah, you heard that right, a banana! If that means nothing to you, I get it. But just think about this. We've already established that this cave is likely in Borodino, which is in the northern part of Russia. Bananas simply do not grow in this part of the world. Their trees cannot survive prolonged temperatures below freezing. These are fruits that are normally grown in humid tropical areas. Think like Southeast Asia, South and Central America, or Africa. And while there have been experiments to grow bananas in Russia as recently as 2024, those have been limited to the Krasnodarsky Krai region, which is much further south geographically and closer in climate to the humid tropical landscapes where bananas are typically grown. This snowy, frigid climate we see here in Minions, it should just be impossible to grow bananas here. So for the Minions to have bananas, they need to have developed some sort of advanced greenhouse technology. If you don't know, greenhouses are structures where you can kind of create your own artificial environment. So if you're in a colder climate, you can make a warmer one in a greenhouse to grow plants that might not normally grow in that area. Relatively speaking, this is some pretty advanced tech. While very basic greenhouses were built as far back as the 1st century AD in Rome, modern agriculture struggles to grow bananas in greenhouses as far south as Rhode Island. While greenhouses in northern climates like the Arctic Circle, closer to what we see here in the Minions, can only manage to grow plants like kale. So, the Minions growing growing bananas in a cave in snowy Russia? Their mastery of technology on display here is incredible. But perhaps most frighteningly of all, the Minions were likely the source of all human language. Again, in that montage at the beginning of the
we're
Minions
going
movie,
this way,
which we're
what?
getting a lot of mileage out of now that I'm thinking about it, we see that the Minions are able to speak the moment they got out on land. Specifically, we hear words like boss, banana, yum, pinata, and see, all in prehistoric times.
Boss! Banana! Yum, yum, pinata!
And keep in mind, many of these words were spoken by the Minions during the era of the dinosaurs. We see a T-Rex in this intro, meaning that the Minions were talking during the Cretaceous period, over 66 million years ago. The earliest human languages only developed roughly 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, and specific words like banana, it shares the same root as the Arabic word banan, which means fingertip. And if we take this to the logical extreme, that means that the Minions and their gobbledygook language are the source of English, French, Spanish, Arabic, and all of their related languages. Also, funnily enough, but bananas shouldn't even exist at this point alongside the dinosaurs.
Of course, yeah.
Scientists believe bananas only showed up like 10,000 years ago, so quite a far cry from T-Rex times, but I digress.
Oh, okay. So you're just going to, skim over that little bit and not, literally every other bit of cartoon nonsense that appears in these movies? I can't help but feel that you are playing favorites.
Okay, so clearly the Minions are not as dumb as we think they are. They're simply too good with athletics, technology, and language to be the dummy heads that the Despicable Me movies make them out to be. But why? Why do they seem to act stupid, and no matter how smart they are, there's no denying that they act stupid? This is the part where they secretly control the world reality, comes about. They're super geniuses. Well, let's think about this for a second. What do we see the Minions doing all throughout history? What is their one stated goal?
But they all share the same goal, to serve the most despicable master they could find.
Yeah, all throughout the history of the entire planet, they've served the worst of the worst. The apex predator of the Cretaceous, a pharaoh that used slave labor to build monuments to himself. Dracula, a literal vampire who was also known as Vlad the Impaler, famous for his cruelty. Napoleon, a general and emperor who caused hundreds of thousands of deaths.
Don't ask the Minions what they were doing in the 1930s and 40s. I've heard that joke before, and of course this movie solves it in that they were, not in the Antarctic, in Siberian Russia.
Even the caveman is a bit of a jerk in the Cro-Minion short. And yet, what happens to all of them? They all die, and almost always as a result of the Minions' incompetence.
What do you mean, almost? It's literally every time.
But here's where I have to ask, was it incompetence? Because there is someone else that they serve who doesn't end up dead. Gru. Yeah, Gru, who was a troubled child who had a good heart. The worst he ever really did was steal the moon, but then he put it back and ended up using his gifts for good. He joined the Anti-Villain League and helped take down other bad guys because of his good heart. And so, Gru survives, while all of the other truly evil masters of the Minions do not. Guys, isn't it obvious? The Minions aren't serving the bad guys of history because they want to help them do bad things. No, they're keeping the bad guys in check and killing them off when they get too evil. They have been a guiding hand for human history, nudging us in the right direction when it was needed. And now, in the present day, they don't even use the pretense of being evil anymore. They've straight up helped defeat villains like Vector, El Macho, Brat, the Vicious Six, Scarlet Overkill, Maxine Lamau. And by the beginning of Despicable Me 4, they've also just straight up joined the Anti-Villain League themselves, because why even pretend to be evil anymore? The Minions are intelligent, we've proven that, and they're just pretending to be bad. They have been...
I mean, are you literally not going to say anything about, Despicable Me 3? Or wait, was it 3 or 2? No, yeah, it was 3. Where, they left Gru because he wasn't being evil anymore. I mean, that literally just stops the entire argument in its tracks.
Guiding the world to be a better place by putting good people who are hurt like Gru on the right path and eliminating the actual threats to the Earth. Why? If I had to guess, it's because they're immortal. I mean, at the end of the day, they have a vested interest in making the world a better place because they're gonna be here forever. They're the ones who are gonna inherit the Earth when all us humans are just dead and gone. Oh god, Minions are gonna inherit the Earth when all humans are dead and gone. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
You know, I'll say it again. Somebody should really check on Lee. I believe that the stress of the job is starting to get to him. Super genius minions. Oh, what next? I mean, if I wasn't expecting the occasional really stupid thing to pop up on these channels, I wouldn't watch them. But yeah, that'll be it for now. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my game theory reaction, and yeah, we'll throw that out of the way. I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.